Good morning and welcome to IOL PowerPoint presentation for educational management. My name is George Kandetu, and very soon you will see my details if you need to contact me. It's a pleasure for me to make this presentation that will cover combined subjects like DJPE, ACPE, DE, DES, DSE, and BSP, educational management. So for those that have joined us today, please take note that this PowerPoint presentation covers all examinations in educational management during 2022. Following are my details. If you need to contact me, all my details are there, and also the time slot that you can contact me. Thank you very much. First of all, we will look to concepts that we deal with in educational management, which is administration versus management. Here you are required to compare what is the difference between administration and management by looking at certain aspects like what the meaning is, the nature of administration or management, and also the skills. And then we have characteristics of management. These are the aspects for which you can ascribe management to. Total quality management is also a concept that you must become familiar with. What does total quality management mean, and what does it entails? So it is very well explained in the study guide, and you really need to pay attention to it. Management can be an art. So what are we looking at when we say management can be justified as an art? So you need to describe how management can be described as an art. So there are certain aspects to which you can relate. Art and management, how they relate, and why we say management can be justified as an art. Then you look to classroom management. This is a very broad concept of classroom management. It is also a tool as a teacher that you will need to use in order for your class to run effectively. So there are certain requirements that are needed for an effective classroom management. So in other words, if you fail as a teacher in classroom management, your lesson will not end effectively. So there are certain requirements that you need to familiarize yourself with, which is related to classroom management. There are also certain rules that you can make as a teacher in order to manage your class easier, in order to have discipline in your class. So you need to familiarize yourself with these rules that is pertain to classroom management. Another concept that you need to look at is the personalization by pieces, which is a system where a personalized learning to give learners control over their own progression. So in other words, here learners are taking ownership of their own learning by following the system called personalization by pieces. So get to know all these requirements when it comes to personalization by pieces. The role of the school culture as part of its hidden curriculum, it's a concept in your study guide. It is very broad. It describes the role of the school culture and how the school culture of a particular school can be or can play a role as a hidden curriculum. For example, you come at a certain school without talking to anybody, but the atmosphere that is prevailing at that school testify the type of culture the school endures. For example, you may experience a poor or negative culture, or you may get what we call a positive culture. So a poor or negative culture of learning as related to sound and positive culture of teaching and learning. So the way the teachers, the way the learners present themselves reveals the type of culture that a school is portraying. So you need to give us examples of poor or negative culture, and also some examples of a positive culture in terms of their characteristics. All right, the next concept that we look at, and it is illustrated by a model which we call transformational leadership, a model of transformational leadership. First of all, I want you to try and understand what the model depicts. In the middle of that model, you see transformational leadership, and then there are certain aspects surrounding transformational leadership that a leader should have. For example, inspirational motivation. We are going to get into details with that. Individual stimulation. We will explain what it means. Motivation or individual consideration. Those four aspects are actually very important characteristics of a transformational leader. Let us look at the first one, the inspirational motivation. So as the word indicates, a leader inspires, and that inspiration motivates others to do their best, as opposed to an autocratic leader that enforces everything on staff members. An inspirational leader takes another road. Foundation of transformational leadership is known for it promotes the vision. So as a leader of that school, your main motive will be to propel the vision of the school. So in other words, you instill in the people that you lead, you instill a sense of identifying the vision of the school and also the mission of the school, where you want to take the school. It must be very well known to the people that you lead. And it also embraces a set of values to all the members in that group. So in other words, you inspire by highlighting the vision of the school, the mission of the school, and also by relying on a set of values that a certain school is following. For example, if we all have the values of faith, then it is instilled in each and every individual, from staff members to learners to parents. They know what are the values that we stand for as a school. If the value is hard work, then everyone is inspired through that in order to deliver their best. And they also know the direction in which they are moving, so they know what is the vision of the school and what is the mission of that particular school. That's inspirational motivation, and it can go further. The vision that we are talking about here is so powerful that the followers are guided by it. So every follower is there because they believe in the vision of the school. And they are so inspired that they are so enthusiastic and energetic and eager to accomplish the mission of the school. So transformational leadership guides followers by providing them with a sense of meaning and challenge. So in other words, after they have achieved a certain goal, they challenge themselves to achieve more as they are led by the mission and the vision of the school. They work enthusiastically and optimistically to foster the spirit of teamwork and commitment. So the vision, the mission, the values have trickled down to each and every individual member of that school or organization, and they are so inspired, and they work as a team, and they are very well committed. The next character of transformational leadership that we can look at is intellectual stimulation. Transformational leaders encourage their followers to be innovative and creative. So in other words, we have talked about staff members challenging themselves to do the best. So they think outside the box. They are innovative and they are creative. They think of new ideas all the time. And such leaders encourage new ideas from their followers, and they never criticize their followers publicly for the mistake that they have committed. On intellectual stimulation still, these are the kind of leaders who would promote the notion of the buck stops here. So they don't look around and blame each other for things that did not go bad. They take ownership of anything that does not go well, and they become committed and they work as a team. In essence, they encourage their followers to take charge of their responsibility rather than passing on the blame. They confidently challenge ineffective ideas. As we said, they are creative, and therefore if an idea is ineffective, they challenge themselves and they come up with new ideas, innovation, and creativity. The next character of transformational leadership that we can look at is the idealized influence. They come up with new ideas. They are the ideal leaders who inspire through action rather than mere words. So their influence is characterized by actions. The leaders act as role models, and the followers emulate the examples that they put forward. These leaders always win the trust and respect of their followers through their actions. Still on the character of idealized influence, such leaders typically please their followers' need over their own, sacrifice their personal gains for them, and demonstrate high standards of ethical conduct. Because followers have to emulate their examples, so they are unselfish. They sacrifice their own personal gains in order to have followers that emulate their examples. The use of power by such leaders is aimed at influencing to strive for their common goals of the organization. The next character is individualized consideration. So in other words, here, transformational leaders, they think of others. They recognize the abilities of others. They recognize the talents of others. So such leaders act as mentors to their followers, and they reward them for their creativity and innovation. So in other words, they encourage people to think outside the box, and for those that come forward with new ideas, creativity, and innovation, they are rewarded for that. Followers are treated differently according to their talents and knowledge. So in other words, such leaders celebrate the talents of their followers. they recognize the knowledge of their followers. It's not a matter of if you know better than me, then you become my challenge or you become my enemy. They embrace people with knowledge. They encourage people to know better than themselves. So they are empowered to make decisions and are always provided with the needed support to implement their decisions. Still on individualized consideration, the implication of transformational leadership theory on school is of paramount importance. The current school environment, characterized by uncertainty in goal achievement, negative attitude towards work, and organizational instability, calls for transformational leadership to prevail at all levels of the organization. Yeah, many a times we experience that there is a negative energy at schools. There are a sense of selfishness. And this is where you really need to have transformational leaders, people who are going to empower or to influence their followers in such a way that there is a turnaround strategy in terms of embracing positive attitude, in terms of taking ownership and responsibility to take the school from point A to point B, where it is a better place. Still on individualized consideration, principals or leaders who practice transformational leadership, they reap the benefit of having a staff that is committed, well-behaved, and motivated by their job satisfaction. So in fact, every principal or every leader at a school must embrace the notion of transformational leadership, because what you're going to benefit is of paramount importance. With such a devoted workforce, it will definitely be useful to consider making efforts towards developing ways of transforming the school as an organization through leadership. Good. That was all about the transformational leadership model. It is very self-explanatory, and I have tried to highlight the basic on which it is standing. Now we will look to the general responsibility of the principal. We can look at it from many or from different angles. From the point of staff management, educational goals, discipline, and the role of principals in the community. So in terms of staff management, the role of the principal is really to motivate and to monitor performance of staff members. If staff members are not monitored and they do not get the right motivation, the likelihood is there that they will fall apart, they will lose direction. So that's why it is very important for the principal to look at staff management, motivate them, and also to monitor and take accountability of staff management's performance. The educational goals, the principal has a very important role of determining the direction in which education is paved. They set goals for schools, and or they align these goals with those of the government and also with the parent expectations. So principals are not operating in isolation. They operate in alignment with the government, and also they satisfy the parents' expectations. Of importance also is the discipline. Learners' behavior or code of conduct or disciplinary system is to be guided by the principal. So it's the role of the principal to make sure that the learners are learning in a disciplinary environment. Principal is part of the community. In fact, a principal is a leader in that community, has a very important role to to liaise between the community and the school. That's why you will see that the school principal is actually the spokesperson of the school in public platforms. So it's a very important critical role that a principal is playing in terms of liaising between the community. One important role of the principal is managing ethics in school. I'm sorry for the misspell of the word managing. Managing ethics in school. Schools have to be ethical. It is useless to have a school, but staff members or learners are not following the right ethics, honesty, discipline, respect. All those values are forming the ethical conduct of a particular school. So a school must be characterized by its ethical conduct. Getting in that environment, it should be very clear to everyone what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And it is the principal that should be playing a very pivotal role in terms of establishing these ethics and also in terms of managing these ethics. That topic deals also with what are the consequences for being unethical. So being ethical versus being unethical. What will happen if a principal of a school is unethical? All right, and then we look at the features of an organization. There are certain common features of a business organization. It is very stipulated in your study guide. How do we know that this one is a business organization? How to ensure inclusivity in school. That is now the role of the principal and management. We know now that in Namibia, many schools are inclusive because we are coming from a diverse background. That's why it is very important for the principal to play that role of ensuring that inclusivity is part of that particular school. That topic deals also with learners' rights and responsibility in a school setup. As much as learners have rights and they claim their rights, it must be emphasized that they have also a responsibility. So for every right, there is a responsibility. You have the right to go to school, but you have the responsibility to learn. Managing extracurricular activities in school. We know that the role that sports, debating, and all other extracurricular activities play in a school. We need to develop the learner holistically by looking at the various aspects and talents in order to develop a child holistically. And here, it's something that needs to be managed. So the sports activities, the calendar of activities, the responsibility, the assignment given to teachers to run various extracurricular activities in school should not be taken for granted because it's part of the curriculum. It enhances the main curriculums. Without one, a child is not developed holistically. Factors that are necessary for a safe school environment. There are certain aspects that you can look at the entrance of the school. Does it provide safety to learners? How safe is the environment? What are the safety standards that the school have put in place? There are many aspects pertaining to factors that are necessary for the school environment that you can zoom into and bring forward and learn about them. Good. And then we look at how planning can be incorporated in various aspects of the schools. So if you get into education, you will see that there are certain expectations that we call key areas in a school setup. For example, one of the key areas is the provision of resources for schools. It's very important that physical resources and as well as human resources are provided to a school. But we are not now looking at it in isolation. Here we are looking at planning. How does planning, or how can planning be incorporated in the provision of resources? So that is a question that we are trying to address by looking at human resources and physical resources. Planning can be incorporated by, first of all, establishing the correct staffing norm. And that is especially now the beginning of the year. That is now the responsibility of school principal or the responsibility of management to make sure that before the year starts, that the staffing norm is correct. So for example, if for every 35 learners should be a teacher, then we plan accordingly so that we can provide teachers, which are human resources, as per norm. So planning is very important in this area to recruit the teaching as well as the supporting staff. So that's planning as related to the provision of resources, and it can continue. As we talk about planning, we also think about the time aspect, which is very crucial to avoid a situation where you start the school without the full complement of the staff. As I said, it's the beginning of the year, and if you did not plan very well, if you did not look at timing, then you are out of space. You will not address that aspect of providing resources for the school. All right, another key area that we look at is now the curriculum attainment. That is now the main thing, the teaching itself. Now, how does planning relate to curriculum attainment? In order to implement the full curriculum successfully, as a school manager, you have to plan how the various aspects will be implemented, establish the time frame and the person responsible. For example, in everyday school setup, we talk of the school timetable. So a school timetable is a very important tool, because if you don't have it, if you don't plan to have it, then you fail to execute who is going to teach which subject at which period. That's why we say time frame is very important in order for you to implement your curriculum effectively. Think about some aspects like the syllabi implementation. If you don't break down your syllabi in schemes of work, you will not be able to complete your curriculum in time. Think about the year plans that we put in place. Those are aspects of very important tools of planning for you to execute or implement the curriculum effectively. Think about the assessment plans. You cannot just go on and on and on. You need to know, when do you do your assessment? More especially, we know that towards the end of every trimester, then you need to give an assessment of what you have done in that trimester. Think about the continuous monitoring system. As a head of department or a management member, you have also some plan. When do you visit these teachers? When do you familiarize yourself with the progress in that department? So these are monitoring systems that are in place. Think about the compensatory teaching programs. For learners that do not progress as normal as every child, you need to have compensatory teaching programs. When do you do that? Do you do it in the afternoon? Do you do it towards the end of the day? Whatever. But all those require extensive planning. Another key area that we look at in relation to planning is the teaching and learning process, the actual teaching and learning process. To be able to achieve this goal, the principal must have the school development plan. It's a tool that every school is having. It's a general tool that is containing many other aspects, and we call it the school development plan. That is actually the master plan of each and every school. And the plan of action for academic improvement, or PAI, this one is specifically targeting academic improvement. So those are the main plans that you can look at, especially when you talk about the teaching and learning processes. It can be contained, it can be planned by using these two instruments. So the role of top management or middle management in terms of key area 3, which is the teaching and learning planning process. So the role of top management there, or middle management and supervisor in terms of planning, strategic planning. So in October is where every school assemble stakeholders, be it staff members, be it school board members, in order to strategically plan how the next year is going to unfold. So here we talk about strategic planning, contingency planning, and also as operational planning. Strategic planning is of paramount importance, where the school board together with the principal are taking the lead. So it's actually a moment where a master plan for the whole school is put together for the year to progress smoothly. So there must be a guiding plan. There must be programs to enhance or reinforce the morale of the school. Good. Another key area that we can look at is the school as a social unit. So in other words, the school does not operate in isolation. It operates and it is linked to society. So activities which enhance teachers' and learners' sense of pride in the school should form part of the program. That needs planning. You need to know which activities relate, or which activities do parents have interest in, and you must encapsulate this into a program that is well understood by the society, by the parent community, by the teaching community, and that needs plan. So you need to plan specific action to establish values and norms like respect, integrity, character traits, and so on. Still on that key area, strategic planning is of paramount importance, where the school board, together with the principal, are taking the lead. There must be a guiding plan or program to enhance or reinforce the morale of the school. It's a repeat of that slide. Activity which will enhance teachers' and learners' sense of pride in the school should form part of the program. I'm sorry that that slide has repeated itself. And then we look at the comparison between classical management theory and scientific management theory. There is a slight difference between the two. And I know that there are students who inquired during assignment about the difference between classical management and scientific management, and that's why I decided let me talk about it for a moment here. Here we need to look at the similarities and the differences. So in terms of similarities between the two concepts, similarity that there is a chain of authority to get things done through people, both for classical management as well as for scientific management. So that is getting things done through the people. That is something both have in common. All right. And we also look at organizing, directing or conducting and controlling human resources. Both of them do the same. Organizing, directing, conducting and controlling human activities. So those are similarities. The differences, in terms of classical management theory, it's a universal principle. It identifies business functions and structuring organization, and there are processes as opposed to scientific management where there are scientific techniques involved. In terms of classical management, processes. And scientific management also is using science and engineering to manage resources and organizational system. Staff induction is also a topic that is covered in your study guide. There must be proper induction program. You must be able to say what does it entail. And also coupled with that, ways to manage in-service training. So here you need to identify certain areas of needs and design the program accordingly. You need to look at what methodology are you going to employ. You need to look at the content features, objectives of the training. So when you have staff induction, you look at those, and I expect you to study that and to be able to explain. Right. In conclusion, this course is actually a combination of different courses: DJPE, ACPE, DE, DES, DSE, and BESP. At the moment, these students taking this examination, their question paper is compiled from different study guides or sources. Therefore, additional materials or additional information will be provided to you through your portals for your references. So in other words, if I have deviated from one study guide, I will include it in this, or I have included it in the additional materials that will be provided to you. So make sure that you do not only stick to one study guide, but you make use of these materials that will be additionally added to your portal. And these materials will be added during this week. So make sure that you also visit your portal and you have access to these materials. That is now for this year. But as in the future, for the future, we will do away with the combination of different study guides. We will only concentrate on only one study guide that will encompass all, and that will be the DJPE study guide. So your course coordinator will make sure that every student is having the DJPE study guide in future, so that it can act as a unifier for all combination subjects or courses. So thank you very much. We have come to the end of this presentation, and I would like to wish you good luck with your examination during 2022. Thank you.